I stood in our kitchen at 2 a.m. Sleep wouldn't come, not with the wedding 2 days away. My tie hung loose around my neck from a late fitting, and my phone glowed in my hand. I was about to text Elise, my fiancée, to calm my nerves. She was probably asleep at her sister's place, sticking to that old tradition of not seeing the groom before the big day. But her phone buzzed on the counter, forgotten after she'd stopped by earlier. I shouldn't have looked. I wish I hadn't. But that buzz, sharp and insistent, pulled me in. The screen lit up with a preview. Can't wait to leave him at the altar. You're my future, babe. My heart stopped. The name above it was Marcus. Marcus, the guy she'd been working late with for months, some hotshot client from her PR firm. My thumb hovered, shaking, then swiped. The full message thread opened, and each word sliced deeper. He's so clueless, she wrote. I'll walk down the aisle, fake some tears and ditch him in front of everyone. Then we're free, Marcus. My knees buckled. I grabbed the counter to keep from falling. Elise, the woman I'd loved for 3 years, the one I'd proposed to on a rainy rooftop with a ring I worked overtime to afford, she was planning to humiliate me. I scrolled, my eyes burning. She'd been texting him for months. Messages about how she'd locked Charles down so I'd keep paying for the wedding, the venue, her dress. She bragged about deleting job offers from my email, ones I didn't even know I'd gotten. He's too soft to suspect, she wrote. Soft. That word stung worst of all. I thought of every late night I'd spent reassuring her, every time I'd cancelled plans to fix her car or help with her work emergencies. All lies. My chest tightened, like the air was too thick to breathe. I wanted to smash her phone, to call her and scream, but something stopped me. A cold, sharp thought. She didn't get to win. I paced the apartment, our apartment, filled with photos of us, smiling at the beach, kissing at Christmas. Lies. All of them. I poured a glass of whiskey, my hand shaking so bad half of it spilled. The burn in my throat didn't dull the pain, but it woke me up. I wasn't just hurt, I was furious. Elise thought she could play me, leave me broken in front of our families, our friends, while she ran off with Marcus and his money. No, I wouldn't let her. I didn't know how yet, but I'd make her feel what I was feeling. Exposed, betrayed, small. By 4 a.m., I was on the phone with Jake, my best man, my voice low so I wouldn't wake the neighbors. She's screwing me over, man, I said, reading him the texts. He was quiet at first, then let out a string of curses. She's a snake, Charles, but you're not going down like this. His voice was steady, like he was already planning something. Jake's always been the guy who thinks 3 steps ahead, the one who'd talk me out of dumb decisions in college. Come over, he said. We'll figure this out. I grabbed my keys, Elise's phone still in my pocket, and left our apartment. The street was dark, the air cold, but my blood was boiling. At Jake's place, we sat on his beat-up couch, empty beer cans piling up. I showed him everything. Texts, emails she'd forwarded to Marcus about my job applications, even a voice memo where she laughed about how pathetic I'd look when she left me at the altar. Jake's jaw clenched. She's not just cheating, Charles. She's been sabotaging you. He was right. I'd missed 2 promotions last year. Blamed myself for not being good enough. Now I knew she'd been whispering doubts to my boss, pretending to be my concerned fiancé. I felt sick, but Jake leaned forward, eyes sharp. You've got 2 days. You can still turn this around. We started digging. I logged into her email from her phone. Her password was my birthday, which felt like another cruel joke. There were contracts, bank statements. She'd been funneling money from our joint wedding fund into a private account. Thousands of dollars I'd worked for, gone. She'd even pawned a necklace I'd bought her, claiming it was lost. Every discovery was a punch, but it fueled me. I wasn't just a victim. I was a man with a fire inside. Jake scribbled notes, his mind racing. The wedding's your stage, he said. She wants to humiliate you. Use it against her. By dawn, we had the start of a plan. It was risky, maybe crazy, but it felt right. I'd let Elise think she was in control. I'd smile, play the happy groom, let her walk down that aisle believing she'd won. But when the moment came, I'd flip the script. I'd invited Marcus to the wedding already, texting him from her phone, "Be there, I want you to see me do it." He replied with a winking emoji, thinking he was in on her game. He had no idea. He was walking into mine. The church, the guests, the flowers, it was all set. But this wouldn't be a wedding. It'd be a reckoning. I drove home as the sun rose, my hands steady now. Elise would be back tonight, all smiles, pretending to love me. I'd play along, but inside I was different. The man she thought was soft was gone. I looked at our apartment, at the life we'd built, and felt a strange calm. 2 days until I'd stand at that altar, not to marry her, but to take my life back. I didn't know exactly how it'd go down, but one thing was sure. Elise was about to learn who I really was. The sun was barely up when I left Jake's place, my head pounding from no sleep and too many beers. Elise's phone burned a hole in my pocket, every text from Marcus, a reminder of her betrayal. I had one day to pull myself together before she came back to our apartment. All smiles, pretending she loved me. The thought of seeing her, of playing the happy groom while knowing she planned to ditch me at the altar, made my skin crawl. But I had to. If I tipped her off, this whole thing would fall apart. I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles white, and promised myself tomorrow at the wedding she'd pay. Back home, our apartment felt like a stage set for a play I didn't want to be in. Her coffee mug sat on the counter, lipstick smudged. On the rim, our engagement photo grinned at me from the fridge, her arms around me, my eyes so damn trusting. I wanted to rip it down, but I didn't. I had to keep everything normal, at least on the surface. I splashed cold water on my face, stared at my reflection, and practiced smiling. It looked forced, but it'd have to do. Elise was good at faking. I could be better. Jake called around noon, his voice sharp with focus. "You holding it together, Charles?" he asked. I muttered something about not sleeping, and he cut me off. "Good. We don't have time to feel sorry for ourselves. Meet me at the diner. Bring her phone." I grabbed my jacket, slipped Elise's phone into my bag, and headed out. The diner was our old haunt, a grimy spot with cracked booths and pancakes that tasted like home. Jake was already there, scribbling in his notebook, a plate of uneaten, fries pushed aside. He didn't look up when I slid into the booth. "We're not just exposing her," he said. "We're taking back what's yours, your dignity, your future. But we gotta be smart." Smart. That word stuck with me. Elise thought I was clueless. Soft. She'd underestimated me, and that was her mistake. Jake laid out the basics. Let Elise think she's in control. Let her walk down the aisle, then hit her with the truth in front of everyone. "Public humiliation," he said, "same as she planned for you. But we need proof, and we need allies." I nodded, my anger sharpening into something useful. We started with her phone. I opened her messages, emails, anything that could bury her. Jake took photos of the worst texts, her bragging about leaving me, her laughing about pawning my gifts. "This goes on the big screen at the church," he said. "No one's doubting you after this," but it wasn't enough. Elise was slippery, charming. She could cry, spin a story, make people pity her. We needed more. I logged into her email. Again, my fingers clumsy on the touchscreen. That's when I found it, a folder labeled work stuff. Inside were bank statements, transfers from our joint wedding account to one in her name. She'd siphoned off $8,000. Money I'd earned working double shifts at the warehouse. My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. "She's been stealing from me," I said, sliding the phone to Jake. He whistled low. "This is gold, man. She's done." We kept digging. There were emails to Marcus about my job, ones where she'd forwarded my applications with snarky comments. "He thinks he's getting this. Cute." She'd even called my boss, pretending to be worried about my stress, planting seeds that got me passed over for promotions. Every lie piled on top of the last, and with each one, my guilt about fighting dirty faded. This wasn't just about a breakup. She'd been tearing me down for years, keeping me small so she could feel. Big Jake leaned back, tapping his pen. "We've got the dirt. Now we need the stage." The wedding was at St. Mary's, a big church with a projector for slideshows. Jake knew the AV guy, Tom, from high school. "I'll call him," Jake said. "He'll set up the screen." "No." "Any questions asked?" I hesitated. "What if Elise sees it early?" Jake grinned, that sly look he got when he was scheming. "She won't. Tom owes me. He'll rig it to go live when you give the signal." I felt a spark of hope, but it came with fear. This was real now, no turning back. We needed more allies. I thought of Grace, my cousin, who'd always had my back. She was coming to the wedding, already suspicious of Elise's perfect act. I called her, my voice low in the diner's bathroom. "Grace, I need you," I said, and spilled everything. She didn't interrupt, just listened, then said, "That bitch, I'm in." Grace is fierce, the kind of person who'd punch a bully for you. She agreed to keep an eye on Elise during the wedding, maybe stir up the crowd if we needed it. "I'll bring my loud mouth," she joked, but I heard the steel in her voice. With her and Jake, I wasn't alone. The plan took shape. I'd play the groom, smiling through rehearsals, letting Elise think she had me fooled. Jake would handle the tech, getting the texts and emails ready to project. Grace would watch the crowd, ready to signal if Elise tried to bolt. We'd also invited Marcus, and he'd confirmed he'd be there, thinking he was part of Elise's cruel surprise. The caterer and band were next. I called them, saying we might change the vibe after the ceremony, hinting at a party instead of a reception. They didn't ask too many questions. Money talks, and I'd already paid. The photographer, Zoe, was trickier. She was Elise's friend, but Jake knew her too. "I'll talk to her," he said. "She's not as loyal to Elise as you think, but evening." I was back home, exhausted but wired. Elise texted from her sisters, "Miss you, babe, so excited for tomorrow." I stared at the words, my stomach twisting. I typed back, "Me too, love you," and hit send before I could overthink it. The lie tasted bitter, but it was necessary. She'd be home in an hour, and I had to be perfect. I hid her phone in my sock drawer, figuring she'd think she lost it. If she asked, I'd play dumb. Clueless, like she thought I was. When Elise walked in, I was on the couch, pretending to watch TV. She dropped her bag, all smiles, and kissed me. "You nervous, groom?" she teased, her voice sweet like poison. I forced a grin, my heart racing. "A little big day." She laughed, ruffling my hair, and went to shower. I watched her go, wondering how I'd ever loved her. Her charm was a mask, and now that I'd seen behind it, I couldn't unsee it. Every word, every touch felt like a trap. I wanted to confront her, to yell, but I bit my tongue. Tomorrow, she'd face the truth, not in private, where she could lie her way out, but in front of everyone. I barely slept, my mind replaying the plan. What if Tom messed up the projector? What if Elise charmed the guests into forgiving her? What if I froze, couldn't say the words? Jake's voice echoed in my head, "You're not going down like this." He was right. I wasn't just fighting for me. I was fighting for every time I doubted myself, every dream she'd crushed. I thought of Grace, her fierce loyalty, and felt a flicker of warmth. She'd always seen me, the real me, not the soft guy Elise mocked. Maybe there was something there, but I pushed the thought away. First, I had to survive tomorrow. The morning brought a new problem. Elise woke up early, tearing through the apartment. "Have you seen my phone?" she asked, her voice tight. I shrugged, sipping coffee, my pulse hammering. "Maybe you left it at your sister's." She frowned, then relaxed. "Yeah, maybe. I'll get it later." I exhaled, but the close call shook me. If she'd found it, seen my text to Marcus, it'd be over. I had to keep her distracted. Let's go over the seating chart, I said, pulling out the binder. She rolled her eyes, but sat down, her guard dropping. I watched her, memorizing her lies, fueling my resolve. Jake texted me updates. Tom was set, the projector ready. Grace was rallying a few cousins to back me up. Zoe, the photographer, was in. Jake had convinced her Elise was toxic. Everything was falling into place, but my nerves were fraying. I kept seeing Elise's face, the way she'd smile tomorrow, thinking she'd won. I imagined Marcus in the crowd, smirking, waiting for her to ditch me. The thought made my blood boil, but it also steadied me. They'd both be there, center stage for my revenge. As the day ended, I sent one last text from Elise's phone to Marcus. Tomorrow's the day. Be in the back row. I need you there when I leave him. I deleted the message from her sent folder, my hands steady now. Marcus replied, Got it, babe. Can't wait. I stared at the screen, a grim smile, spreading. He thought he was her future. Tomorrow, he'd see her for what she was, a liar, a thief, a coward, and so would everyone else. The wedding was hours away, and I was ready to burn it all down. The morning of the wedding hit me like a freight train. I woke up in our apartment, the bed half empty without Elise, who'd stayed at her sister's again. My gut twisted, not from wedding jitters, but from the plan I was set to unleash. Today wasn't about love, it was about justice. I stared at the ceiling, my heart thumping so loud I swore the neighbors could hear it. Elise thought she'd humiliate me in front of everyone, leave me at the altar for Marcus. But I had a plan, and it was locked and loaded. All I had to do was hold it together for a few more hours. I dragged myself to the bathroom, splashing cold water on my face. The mirror showed a guy I barely recognized, eyes bloodshot, jaw tight, but something else too. Resolve. I wasn't the soft Charles Elise mocked in her texts. Not today. I pulled on my tux, the fabric stiff against my skin, and adjusted. My tie was shaking hands, my phone buzzed. Jake, you good? His text read. I typed back, ready. A lie. I wasn't ready, not really, but I had no choice. The clock was ticking. By 10 a.m., I was at St. Mary's, the church buzzing with early guests. The air smelled of lilies and perfume, and sunlight streamed through stained glass windows, painting the pews in reds and blues. My mom hugged me, her eyes misty. You look so handsome, Charles, she said. I forced a smile, guilt twisting my gut. She didn't know what was coming. Nobody did except Jake, Grace, and a few others we'd roped in. I scanned the crowd, spotting Grace near the entrance, her arms crossed, scanning for Elise. She caught my eye and nodded, a silent, "We got this." Jake was with Tom, the AV guy, fiddling with the projector at the back. Everything was in place, but my nerves were fraying like old rope. Guests kept arriving, my cousins, Elise's co-workers, friends I hadn't seen in years. They shook my hand, slapped my back, said things like, "Big day, man." I nodded, my throat dry, my smile a mask. Every laugh, every hug felt like a countdown. I kept glancing at the doors, waiting for Elise, but also for Marcus. I'd told him to sit in the back row, and Jake had eyes on him. If he showed, he'd be part of the show. If he didn't, we'd roll anyway. The band started playing soft music, and the priest, Father Michael, gave me a reassuring pat. "Almost time," he said. I nodded, my pulse hammering. Then she arrived. Elise stepped into the church, her white dress glowing like she was some angel. Her veil trailed behind her, and her smile, God, that smile, was perfect, all teeth and charm. The guests turned, gasping, whispering how stunning she was. My stomach twisted, not with love but with rage. She was playing them all, just like she'd played me. Her eyes locked on mine as she started down the aisle, her steps slow, deliberate. I forced myself to smile back, my hands clenched behind my back. She thought she had me fooled, thought she'd walk up here, fake some tears, and ditch me for Marcus. She had no idea what was waiting. The music swelled, and Elise reached the altar. She took my hands, her fingers cold, her smile never faltering. "You look good," she whispered, like we were sharing a secret. I nodded, my throat too tight to speak. The priest began, his voice droning about love and commitment. I barely heard him. My eyes flicked to Jake, who was near the projector, giving me a subtle thumbs up. Tom was ready. Grace was in the third row, her jaw set, watching Elise like a hawk. The plan was live, but my heart was racing so fast I thought I'd pass out. What if I froze? What if the projector failed? What if Elise talked her way out of it? Father Michael asked us to face each other, and I knew my moment was coming. Elise squeezed my hands, her eyes glinting with something, amusement, triumph. I swallowed hard, my mouth dry as sand. The priest said, "If anyone has reason these two should not be joined, speak now." I raised my hand, cutting him off. "Actually," I said, my voice louder than I expected, "I have something to say." The church went silent, like someone had sucked the air out. Elise's smile froze, her eyes narrowing just a fraction. The guests shifted, confused, waiting. I turned to the crowd, my legs shaking but my voice steady. "This isn't a wedding," I said. "Not anymore. Elise planned to leave me today, right here in front of all of you. She's been lying to me, to everyone." Gasps rippled through the pews. Elise's grip on my hand tightened, but I pulled away. "Charles, what are you—" she started, her voice sweet, panicked. I ignored her, nodding to Jake. The projector hummed to life, and behind the altar, a giant screen lit up with her text to Marcus. The words glowed, impossible to miss. "He's clueless. I'll ditch him at the altar and we'll be set." Another, "Charles thinks I love him. It's pathetic." The crowd erupted. Shocked murmurs, a few shouts. My mum's hand flew to her mouth. Elise's face drained of color, her lips parting like she wanted to speak but couldn't. I kept going, my voice cutting through the noise. "She stole from me, sabotaged my job, lied about everything, but today I'm done." I pointed to the screen where bank statements flashed, showing the $8,000 she'd funneled from our wedding fund. The guests were on their feet now, some yelling at Elise, others whispering to each other. I spotted Marcus in the back row, his face red, trying to slip out. Grace was faster. She and two of my cousins blocked the aisle, their arms crossed. "Going somewhere?" Grace said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Marcus froze, his expensive suit looking cheap under the church lights. Elise spun toward him, her veil slipping. "Marcus, tell them it's not true," she cried. But he just shook his head, muttering, "You said it was a sure thing." I faced the crowd again, my heart pounding but lighter. "I'm not here to beg her to stay," I said. "I'm here to take my life back. This isn't a wedding anymore. It's a freedom party. Stay, eat, dance. Let's celebrate me moving on." The room exploded. My friends cheered, my cousins whooped, even some of Elise's co-workers clapped. My mom rushed to the altar, hugging me so tight I could barely breathe. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered. Jake grinned from the back, giving me a nod like, "You did it." Elise was unraveling. She yanked off her veil, her mascara smearing as she screamed, "You're lying, Charles. You're making this up." But nobody bought it. The texts, the bank records, they were undeniable. She turned to the guests, pleading, "You know me." But Grace cut her off, stepping forward. "We know you now," she said, her voice sharp. The crowd murmured agreement, and Elise's shoulders slumped. She looked small, not the dazzling bride, but a cornered liar. The band, cued by Jake, struck up a lively song, something upbeat and wild. Guests started moving, some to the dance floor, others to the bar we'd set up for the reception. Zoe, the photographer, was snapping shots, not of a wedding, but of this, my victory. I caught her eye and she winked like she'd always known. Elise was trouble. The mood shifted, the church feeling less like a trap and more like a stage where I'd just won. Elise made a break for it, shoving past Grace and running for the side door. Her dress caught on a pew, tearing with a loud rip. Nobody stopped her. Marcus was already gone, chased out by my cousin's glares. I should have felt triumph, but I was too wired, my body buzzing with adrenaline. I grabbed a drink from the bar, my hands still shaking, and joined Jake near the altar. "You pulled it off," he said, clapping my shoulder. I nodded, but my eyes were on the crowd, on my mom laughing with Grace, on my friends toasting me. This was my moment. Then Grace pulled me aside, her face serious. "Charles, there's something else," she said, her voice low. "One of Elise's co-workers just told me something. It's bad." My stomach dropped. I thought I'd uncovered all her secrets, the texts, the money, the lies. But Grace's eyes were dark, urgent. "What is it?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. She leaned closer, and as the music blared and the party roared, her words hit me like a punch, hinting at a betrayal even deeper than I'd imagined. The church pulsed with life, like it had shaken off the weight of Elise's lies and decided to throw a party instead. The band was in full swing, belting out a cover of Sweet Home Alabama that had my cousins spinning on the dance floor. Guests clinked glasses, their faces lit with grins and disbelief, toasting to me, Charles, the guy who'd just turned his wedding into a middle finger to betrayal. I stood near the altar, a beer in my hand, my heart still racing from exposing Elise. I felt free, but Grace's words from moments ago echoed in my head. "It's bad." Another secret. I wasn't sure I could take it, but right now, I let the music drown it out. This was my night, and I wasn't letting Elise steal another second. Jake clapped me on the back, his grin wide as the Mississippi. "You're a legend, man," he said, holding up his drink. "They're calling this the best non-wedding ever." I laughed, the sound raw but real. The guests were buzzing. My mom was dancing with my aunt, her tears replaced by laughter. My buddies from the warehouse were chanting my name like I'd scored a touchdown. Even Zoe, the photographer, was snapping shots of the chaos, her camera flashing like she was capturing a rock concert. I caught Grace's eye across the room. She was talking to one of Elise's co-workers, her face serious, but she gave me a quick wink, and something in me settled. She had my back, always had. I took a long sip of my beer, the cold biting my throat, and let myself feel it, the freedom. For 3 years, Elise had been a shadow over me, whispering doubts, stealing my confidence, my money, my dreams. Today, I'd ripped that shadow away. The texts on the screen, her pale face, Marcus slinking out, they replayed in my mind like a movie I'd directed. But Grace's warning lingered. I waved her over, weaving through the crowd. "What did you mean?" I asked, keeping my voice low. The music was loud, but her eyes were louder, sharp with worry. "Elise's co-worker, Jenna," Grace said, nodding toward a woman by the bar. "She heard us talking about the texts and pulled me aside. Elise wasn't just planning to ditch you. She was setting you up to fail after." My stomach twisted. "Fail how?" Grace leaned closer. "Jenna said Elise contacted your new job, the marketing gig you start next week. She pretended to be your reference, told them you were unreliable, had a drinking problem. They were about to pull the offer." My beer nearly slipped from my hand. The job was my fresh start, a chance to leave the warehouse and build something. Elise wanted to burn that down too, rage flared, but Grace grabbed my arm. "Hold up, Jenna's on your side. She tipped off your boss, told them Elise was lying. They're keeping your offer." Relief hit me, but it was tangled with anger. Even after I'd exposed her, Elise's claws were still out. "Why didn't Jenna say something sooner?" I asked. Grace shrugged. "She was scared. Elise has a way of twisting people, but seeing you call her out, it gave Jenna courage." I nodded, my jaw tight. Elise's final secret wasn't just a betrayal. It was a bomb I dodged, thanks to allies I didn't even know I had. The party roared on, but I needed air. I slipped outside, the night cool against my skin. The church steps were empty, the street quiet except for distant traffic. I sat, my tucks wrinkled, and thought about Elise. She'd run out, her dress torn, her perfect mask shattered. I wondered where she was now, crying to Marcus maybe, or spinning lies to save face. Part of me wanted to hate her forever, but another part, small and tired, just wanted to let her go. She'd taken enough from me. I wasn't giving her my future too. Grace found me, her heels clicking on the steps. She sat beside me, her dress fanning out like a dark wave. "You okay?" she asked, her voice soft but not pitying. I nodded, staring at the stars. "Better than I thought I'd be." She smiled, nudging my shoulder. "You were a badass in there. I'm proud of you." Her words hit deep, warming something I hadn't felt in years. Grace wasn't just my cousin. She was my rock, the one who'd seen me at my worst and never looked away. I looked at her, really looked, and saw something new in her eyes. Not just loyalty, but possibility. I pushed the thought aside. Too soon, too raw. We talked, the party a dull roar behind us. She told me about Jenna's warning, how she'd already called my new boss to confirm my job was safe. "You've got people, Charles," she said. "Don't forget that." I hadn't realized how much I needed to hear it. For so long, Elise had made me feel small, like I was lucky to have her. Now, with Grace, Jake, my family, even Jenna, I saw the truth. I was enough. I'd always been enough. Back inside, the party was peaking. Jake had the band play my favorite song, a gritty Springsteen tune, and dragged me to the dance floor. I laughed, clumsy but alive, as my cousins joined in, shouting the lyrics. My mum pulled me into a hug, her eyes shining. "You're stronger than you know," she said. I hugged her back, my throat tight. The guests kept toasting me, their glasses raised to Charles's new chapter. It wasn't the wedding I'd planned, but it was better, real, messy, mine. By midnight, the news about Elise was spreading. Jake showed me his phone. Texts from mutual friends, posts on social media. Elise had tried to spin the story, posting a tearful video claiming I'd misunderstood her, but nobody bought it. The screenshots of her texts were everywhere, shared by guests who'd recorded the screen. Marcus had dumped her, apparently, after realizing she'd lied about his wealth to impress him. "He's broke," Jake said, laughing. "She picked the wrong sugar daddy." I shook my head, almost pitying her. Almost. The next week was a blur. I sold the engagement ring, a diamond I'd worked months to afford. The pawn shop guy raised an eyebrow when I told him the story, then offered me a decent price. I used the money to pay off the wedding debts, caterers, venue, all of it. The rest went to a new laptop for my marketing job. I started the gig on Monday, walking into a bright office with a view of the city. My boss, a no-nonsense woman named Claire, shook my hand. "Heard you had a wild weekend," she said, smirking. "Jenna filled me in. You're lucky to have her in your corner." I nodded, grateful. Elise's sabotage had failed, and I was already proving myself pitching. Ideas that got nods from the team. But nights were harder. Alone in the apartment, I'd see traces of Elise, a scarf she'd left, a note in her handwriting. I boxed it all up, donated what I could. The memories stung, not because I missed her, but because I'd trusted her. I'd built a life around someone who'd never loved me. That hurt lingered, but it was fading. I started running again, something I'd stopped when Elise said it took too much time. Every mile felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. Grace was there too. We grabbed coffee one evening, her laughter filling the cafe. She teased me about my dance moves at the party, but her eyes were warm, steady. "You're different now," she said, stronger. I shrugged, but she was right. Something had shifted. I wasn't the guy who'd proposed to Elise, desperate for her approval. I was Charles, flawed, but free. Grace and I talked for hours, about nothing and everything. When she hugged me goodbye, her arms lingered, and I didn't pull away. Maybe it was too soon, maybe it wasn't. But with her, I felt safe to try. A month later, I heard Elise had moved out of town. Her PR firm fired her after clients saw the wedding fallout online. Friends told me she was couch surfing, her charm. Useless now that her lies were public. I didn't gloat. Her life was her own mess. Mine was different. I was building something. New job, new routines, new trust in myself. Jake and I grabbed beers every Friday, laughing about the freedom party like it was a war we'd won. My mum called daily, proud but worried, making sure I was eating. And Grace, she was there, not pushing, just present. Her smile a promise of something good. The final twist came from Claire, my boss. Claire. She called me into her office, holding a letter. "This arrived before you started," she said, "from Elise." My blood ran cold. It was a typed note, sent anonymously, claiming I'd been fired from my last job for theft. Another lie, meant to tank my career before it began. But Claire had checked with my references, including Jenna, who'd vouched for me. "I didn't show you this earlier," Claire said. "Didn't want to stress you out. But you should know, she tried, and she failed." I took the letter, my hand steady, and tore it in half. Elise's last secret was dust. I walked out of the office, the city alive around me. The wedding day, the betrayal, the party, they felt like another life. I was cautious now, slower to trust, but not closed off. I had Jake, my family, my work. I had Grace, her laugh echoing in my mind. I didn't know what was next. But for the first time, I wasn't afraid to find out. The man Elise thought was soft was gone. In his place was me, scarred, stronger, ready for whatever came.